Hello everybody! Today I'm going to be showing you how to weed extremely difficult decals. Like this one, you can see all these little individual tick marks. Those are extremely difficult to weed around, and so I'm going to show you all a couple different ways that I personally have put together to make it a lot easier to weed something that is this difficult. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using a term called reverse weeding, which is rather than peeling all my little pieces up and then putting the transfer tape on top of it, we're going to be not peeling hardly any of the vinyl up, and we're going to be putting the transfer tape on first and then peeling the background off. So what that does is it helps keep these little tick marks stuck in place on the transfer tape. And so when I pull up the background vinyl, like the vinyl we're not going to be using, it's not going to want to pull up every single one of these. So I can show you really quickly what it typically does without reverse weeding. So some of them will stick, very few of them. You can see pretty much the whole thing's coming up right here. And if I did want to weed it how I normally would, I would have to go in and hold down each and every one of these individually and slowly peel it up one by one. Do it for all of the tick marks you see here. So we're going to bypass all of that, and instead we're going to reverse weed. So before we reverse weed, we're going to do a couple of things, like I like to take out the inside of the eyes, because once you reverse weed, the vinyl is a little bit difficult to get off the transfer tape. And so going ahead and just removing some of these easy parts that we don't need, just to make it easier on ourselves in the future. And then, since I've personally tried reverse weeding without taking any of this off, I know my trouble areas. You're gonna have to figure that out for your specific decal design for the first time, but I know that it's kind of hard to reverse weed these eyes right here, since the design cuts in. The reverse weeding doesn't really want to pool from in there, so I'm just gonna go ahead and remove these areas that I know give me extra trouble when reverse weeding. Alright, so we just finished up taking out all of the more difficult to reverse weed parts, and now we are ready to reverse weed. And so I'm about to put my transfer tape on this a little bit. It's going to look crooked, but since we're trying to get two different vinyls on there, you can kind of see that the holograph design goes over a little bit more than the white part of the design. So I have to put the transfer tape on there a little bit sideways, so don't come at me for it looking crooked when I put it on there. Another thing I've discovered with these more difficult patterned decal pieces is they tend to want to stick to the back of the vinyl pretty easily. Even when they have been fully weeded, they'll sometimes stick, and it makes it a little bit more difficult for users to fully take them off. And so what I actually do is, instead of throwing the backing of the transfer tape away, this is what I actually put the finished decal on. I have never had a problem with my decals sticking to this at all. It comes off super easily. And so all of the backing for all the vinyls, I just go ahead and throw them away once they're peeled up, and then I just put the full finished thing back on the transfer tapes back. So we're going to go ahead and peel this up, and I'm going to show y'all how it looks once it's fully on the transfer tape and ready to be reverse weeded. So it's going to look a little weird because it's just a white blob on transfer tape. And so if you've never reverse weeded before, this is going to be a bit odd, not just having the full design on here already. All we're going to do is just slowly take this back piece and just peel it right off. And I can already tell you, because I know it happens every time, some little pieces are going to want to pull up. Okay, I'll pull up. Like how they were the first time I showed y'all how I was pulling up with the full vinyl. But thankfully, now that we're reverse weeding, all we have to do is just kind of pick at it. I have fingernails, so I can just pick at it, or if you don't have fingernails, you can use your a weeding tool, I guess. You can use your weeding tool to pick and kind of push the pieces back onto the transfer tape. So when you keep pulling, they'll stick back down. So you can kind of see how this piece right here is wanting to come up. There's one little tick mark right here that's not wanting to stay down. So all I have to do is just kind of push it, and it's back down onto the transfer tape. I don't have to hold it back down the whole time like I was having to at the beginning. You just kind of have to get the edge of it back onto the transfer tape. And you see how much nicer this is peeling than it was at the beginning. It's just And I sometimes like to shake it a little bit because sometimes for me, I have realized if I just peel straight, it'll sometimes pick stuff up easier. But if I kind of shake it back and forth where it's like kind of pulling it at different angles, it'll sometimes leave like the little tick marks a bit easier. Sometimes not, like that one peeled up. But that's okay. Ooh, and this is a good example. See how this one's kind of poking? I don't know if y'all can see that very well. But this one's kind of like in and I can't like peel it out. All I do is just kind of lay it a little bit back down and just push it from the other side. And then hold it down a little bit and there you go. I think these were the pieces that I showed at the beginning, and so there might be a little bit off. Yeah, those are the pieces I did at the beginning, that's why. The only thing about reverse weeding that I will 100% say is a bit difficult is there are absolutely zero room for whoopsies. If you don't fully hold the vinyl the whole time and you accidentally let it drop, the back of this, the sticky part, will stick to the other sticky parts, and so your vinyl will stick to this instead. And so it just makes it very difficult to recover back from that. And so you have to make sure you are grabbing this entire thing and not letting it fall at all, because it will pick up whatever it falls on and just completely peel it up. So no room for whoopsies there. But all right, so we peeled that one up pretty well, pretty easily compared to what I used to have to do, which was pick every single little tick mark down and hold it down the whole time as I was weeding the process. That used to take me probably 15 minutes to do what I just did in a couple of seconds. And so yay for reverse weeding. So that's how I do all these like little individual tiny pieces, because I know that those never want to stay down when you weed how you typically weed with like a fully intact piece. So I'm also going to show y'all, because I know that this holograph that I'm using is very difficult. I'm going to show y'all how I get very difficult vinyl off of its backing that does not want to come off the backing. I personally don't use the Cricut holographic vinyl anymore because it wants to stick to its backing way too much, and it's just extremely difficult to weed. I just had to pick this up because I ran out and had an order I had to get out that day, so I had to go pick this up in the store. But I typically use this other holograph that I'll put on the screen. I use it and I just pick it up from Amazon. It's really cheap compared to Cricut prices, and it weeds beautifully. I've never had any bubbling problems with it. It's gorgeous. I love it, and I highly, highly, highly suggest it. But I'm going to show you, just to use this as an example, how to get holographic or any kind of difficult vinyl off its backing if it does not want to come off. So I'm going to put this completed piece kind of to the side while I work on these stars portion. So I'm going to take the backing off first, and then I'm going to get the little pieces in the center, because that's what's worked for me. If you want to peel the insides first and then the outside, that is what will work for you. It just kind of depends on how you like to do it. But since this piece is really a lot more simple than the other one, we don't need to reverse weed this one. But also, speaking of that, since these pieces go together, since this piece goes with that one, you can't reverse weed both of these pieces. I can only reverse weed the top layer of this decal, and I can't reverse weed any of the other parts to it, because then you wouldn't be able to get it unstuck from that top layer of transfer vinyl. So it weeds very nicely, but it's because it is so heavily stuck to the back that there is like no peeling it off, essentially. And so I will show y'all how I get it off this very annoying back. Also, another trick I see a lot of people like saying, like, what, like an easy way to discard like the little pieces that you're weeding. I just put it on my finger, and like I put the biggest piece on first so all the little pieces get stuck to it, and then I just like peel it off at the end, and that's worked really well for me. Or I keep like a little pile. You can see my little pile right here, and I'll just do that. Or I'll just do what I said earlier and just hold the piece down and put all the scraps just on my pointer finger. Super easy way to do it. And if you make sure that there's a big piece at the bottom first before all your little pieces get on there, then you don't have to worry about just like peeling a bunch of pieces off. You can just peel that bottom one and everything will come up with it. All right, so we're done with that. And like this little finger piece, you literally just peel it and you're good. Time to line these bad boys up. All right. Okay, here we go. So immediately, see, it's not wanting to come up, it's wanting to stick to the paper. So what I do, instead of just like keep folding it, peeling it, folding it, peeling it, I actually just kind of like fold the paper down. So if you just kind of push it and like fold it and then peel, just kind of while pushing it down, pull it back, it helps keep it stuck to the transfer tape. And so I just kind of smash and fold the paper just every now and then, and just kind of, so right here, trying to keep it up, if you just kind of fold the paper down and then keep folding it down while you pull it, it'll help keep it stuck to the transfer tape. And even if you kind of come back right here, you can just always go back and smash it again, push it and pull it back. It'll create these little creases in here, but we're not keeping this piece. Remember, we're putting it back onto this transfer tape's backing, so destroying this isn't gonna harm anything. So we can destroy this as much as we need to get this to come out right. So I'm just gonna keep folding this paper down, smashing it back on here to make sure that everything stays exactly where it needs to stay. All right, all of it stayed, and yes, this definitely got really wrinkled and really destroyed from how many times we had to fold it to get everything on there, but it's just going in the trash can, so we are all good there. So now our piece is finally fully completed and on the transfer tape, and all we need to do is just put it back onto the original transfer tape's backing. And it kind of just feels like wax paper a little bit, like that's the feeling I get from this specific transfer tape. So all these that I'm telling you, all these like tips and tricks and stuff, be mindful that not all vinyl and transfer tape is made the exact same. So you might have to like tweak some of the stuff that you're doing just a little bit to get it to work for your specific tapes and vinyls. All right, so there it is. And I always cut kind of a circle around it to make sure that, because like right here you can kind of see that there's like this bit of the tape hanging over. I wouldn't want that getting stuck in the package and someone accidentally like folding and peeling their thing on accident. So I just go ahead and cut all the way around the edge to make sure that nothing's gonna get accidentally destroyed in shipping. And it might not be a perfect little square, but it works and it gets there safely, and that's all that matters, because this isn't what they're buying. They are buying the decal. All right, and I will peel this up again really quick just to show y'all that it stays really well on here. And I don't even like to peel it from the front. I like to peel it from the back to just double make sure that it sticks really well. You see how easily that peeled? It's so nice, so easy, super user-friendly. They don't have to like worry about figuring out how to get a difficult vinyl off of a backing paper. Super easy for them. I haven't had a complaint about it being difficult since I've moved to this transfer tape. And I'll put the link to all of my vinyls and holographs and all that fun stuff, transfer tape, all that in the description, so y'all can get the exact same thing I'm using here if you are working with a particularly difficult vinyl. It's taken me, I don't even know how many vinyls, how many different decals I've made with different combinations to figure out that this is the vinyl and this is the transfer tape that works for my very annoyingly intricate designs that I definitely should have probably rethought about and redesigned before doing this, because did not realize how much work I was making for myself. Let's just say that. There it is. I think it looks great, looks beautiful. Ooh, look at that shininess. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And if y'all have any questions, if you got confused about a part, if you're like, well, how did you do this? Or what if this happens? Just let me know and I will gladly make another video to answer them, because a lot of this I couldn't find. Like a lot of videos are like scattered about how to do kinds of weedings and like little tips like this, and so I'm hoping I can make it more easily accessible for especially newer crafters to find. So here you go, and I hope this was helpful, and I hope that y'all have a great day. And if you want more videos like this, I'm going to be doing a lot more creating videos, crafting videos, how-tos, tips and tricks, all that kind of fun stuff. And so if you want to continue to watch those and continue to watch me, if you want to subscribe, I also have all my other social medias. They're going to be linked in the description. And so yeah, thank you so much for taking your time to watch this, and I hope that you have a great day.